Chag Sameach.
Hope you had enjoyable first days of Pesach, enjoyable Seders.
Yes.
Has anyone matzah out yet?
Yes.
I'm a fan.
Oh, go. We still have a full end of the week.
Yes, indeed.
Until Sunday. Might as well enjoy it.
You know, matzah, horseradish, and brisket. What could be better?
Exactly.
There you
Matzah's awesome.
go. Yeah.
So we all get the answer to the 4 questions.
Absolutely.
All right.
No worries about it. Absolutely.
So it's let's take a thought, a Passover thought.
Yes.
Are we talking about Passover for the rest of the week? Get some Passover thoughts in.
Okay.
So it's called Chag HaMatzos, the festival of matzahs. What's the lesson of matzah? Of course, we at the Seder, we express the concept of matzah. On the one hand, matzah is the bread of affliction. Matzah is also the food of faith, because they left Egypt with just a dough on their backs, and they had faith in God. But let's tie in a thought about matzah. So what is matzah? Is matzah the bread of affliction? Or is matzah the bread of faith?
Yes.
So how could the 2 are diametrically opposed?
But they have 2 components.
But how could the 2 be so diametrically opposed? How could it be one? How could one side of the coin over here be the bread of affliction, and the other side of the coin be considered the bread of faith? And in fact, the whole holiday is the holiday of matzah. So what is it called? The holiday of affliction?
We say halach ma'anya. This is poor person's bread.
Exactly. So what does that mean? What's halach ma'anya? What does that mean?
Only a poor person would eat it because he could not afford the fancy bread. So this is
today. If you want to see what the price of shmura matzah is,
I don't even hear it.
It's the bread that makes you poor.
Yes, it does. Yes, it certainly does. Yeah.
They're going for $35 a pound.
Costco sells it for cheaper.
Okay. So what is it? What is it about? At the end of the first section of the Haggadah, we emphasize that in every generation, we have to view ourselves as if we personally were left out of Egypt. How can we imagine as if we've left Egypt? For many of us who grew up in a free world, we can't imagine what it means to be in Egypt. For those who experienced the Holocaust, for those who experienced what that means to be in the camps, they can relate. But for those who grew up in the free world, we can't relate to this. What does it mean in every generation? The Hasidic masters point out that the word Mitzrayim is etymologically rooted with the word Meitzar. Egypt, Mitzrayim, is rooted with the word Meitzar, which is constraints, boundaries, limitations. In fact, Mitzrayim was the epitome of boundaries and limitations. No one could escape, and it placed many boundaries and limitations and constraints upon all those who lived in Egypt, especially those who they imprisoned, those who they put in bondage and enslaved. But if we have to view ourselves as if we left Egypt, we have to view ourselves as if we are leaving our own constraints, our own personal limitations, our own boundaries. Because for the most part, we all have boundaries. And again, for the most part, those boundaries that we have are not objective boundaries. Yes, I have boundaries. I can't fly. If I put a cape on, it won't change the reality. I still can't fly. but the boundaries of self-imposed boundaries, the boundaries that my own mind places upon me, the boundaries that I can't. I've shared this before. My first language is French. I grew up speaking French. And so English is my second language, even though I came to this country when I was 2.5. But language I spoke at home was French. And I thank my parents for giving me the gift of having a second language, English. The second language of English, but the second language of French.
Mine was
Because in those days, back in the late 60s, early 70s, it was looked down upon. You came to this country, speak English. So I remember this. I have a vivid memory of being in the park and trying to climb in the monkey bars. Remember those?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Those constructs that, God forbid, it can never exist today because it's like the construct of death. You can imagine if anyone falls off those monkey bars.
You get sued.
But yes, so in any case, there were kids who were climbing, and I was trying to climb, and I couldn't go any higher. So the kids, some of the kids says, come, join us. And I remember I was afraid to climb higher, but I didn't know the word for, I thought I knew the word for afraid. I just simply said, I can't. Because in my mind, I can't meant, I guess I translated in my own mind, if someone said I can't, it means I'm afraid. And not only till years later did it hit me that the two are so close in common. When I say I can't, is it really I can't? Or is it I'm afraid? And that is a question we have to ask ourselves, because we don't, at first we think we know the answer. And the answer is I can't is I can't. Or is it really I can't? Or is it really I'm afraid? So breaking free of those boundaries, many times it's self-imposed boundaries. So how do we get free? How do we free ourselves from those boundaries? So here's something which is counterintuitive. The counterintuitive dimension and aspect is humility. Matzah. The matzah are very simple ingredients. Flour and water. Nothing rich in matzah. Yes, you can make egg matzah, but that's not the matzah we have at the Seder itself. There's no eggs, there's no oil, there's nothing rich in matzah, not even salt. It's just simple flour and water, basic ingredients. Which, by the way, matzah can never go bad. Unriched matzah can never go bad. It doesn't spoil. It won't go bad. It just simply won't go bad. It won't go moldy. If it's in a cool, dry place, it won't go bad. And every so often it may need a little reheating. If it's in a kosher Pesach oven, if it's done right, but to bring back the crispiness. But otherwise, it won't go bad. Matzah, we take all precautions to make sure it does not rise. Matzah is humility. Now, often humility has a bad rap. Often humility can be considered like the bread of affliction. Oh, come on, you need. Think more of yourself. Humility does not mean you're a shmata, you're a doormat. That is the bread of affliction. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking of yourself less. That's a very powerful line I heard. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking of yourself less. Stop thinking about ourselves and start thinking about what is needed of us. Once we stop thinking about ourselves, we start thinking about what is needed of us. Think of us. Think of what happens when a time when there is an emergency. And all of a sudden we end up doing something we never thought we were capable of doing. There's a crisis. Someone we love needs us desperately to do something. All of a sudden, everything is dropped and we do it. We don't realize the power we had to do it. Was that really me? That is matzah. Matzah is humility, thinking of ourselves less, and tapping into a dimension of ourself, our soul, which is intrinsically bound with God, which can never be disconnected with God, and intrinsically believes in God. We tap into a deeper part of ourself, which can never be enslaved, a deeper part of ourself, which can never go bad. This is the holiday of that liberation. And so, during these days, let's take the opportunity of thinking, which areas can we unshackle ourselves from? Which boundaries do we find ourselves in that in reality we are sitting on those keys? And all it takes is thinking a little bit less of ourselves. All it takes is the courage and faith to tell Pharaoh straight in his face, Vamos, I'm out of here. I can no longer be restricted. The ability of no longer saying, I can't. Because very often I can't means I'm afraid. And it takes the inner child to be able to free ourselves from that. So here, ironically, it was my inner child, it was my childhood, which I misconceived. Fear for I can't. It's really tapping into the inner child to be able to break free from that. And go ahead, climb up those monkey bars. Problem is, I can't find any.
No, not today. No,
I gotta find other monkey bars to free myself from.
Your grandchildren will not find monkey
I'll
bars.
conclude with one final word I just saw today. So a friend of mine shared this beautiful concept. Judy, we traditionally wish each other Chag HaPesach kosher v'sameach, a kosher and joyous Pesach. And so one of a great rabbi, which I had with great respect for, passed away just a number of years ago. Rabbi Jacob Emanuel Shochat of blessed memory would say, a kosher and joyous Passover. Because if it's not joyous, it's not kosher.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely.
So we'll end off with that.
No,
ושמחת בחגך Put those hands together. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, 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 ay. Chag Sameach.
Yeah.
Yeah.